Lonely Tata Mandela, Suhala Uganda. Lonely Tata Mandela, Suhala Uganda. Sing with us. Nelson Mandela, Tata Mandela, father of the nation. Nelson Mandela, Tata Mandela, father of the nation. Kamala Makai, Agero, Ivana Naye. Kamala Makai, Agero, Ivana Naye. Sing this. Kamala Makai, Agero, Ivana Naye. There's no one like you. Let's go, Bahamas. There's no one like you.
He then went to Wits University. Once he was there, he started mobilizing and asking students to join the struggle liberation movement. He was chased away. And then he went to UNISA. UNISA is a long-distance university. It's called University of South Africa, UNISA. You can study with UNISA, it's in Victoria, even when you are in Mandela. And he was able to finish his law degree from UNISA. It is the cheapest university because you don't need transport, you don't need accommodation, you don't need food, you stay at home and you study. And then, yes, we have scholarships and so on, but these scholarships must not choose the child of so and so. My own mother was a widow, and she had 5 children, you can imagine. But I was able to go to Wits University. I met, since Mandela was my friend, she took me to her mother, Winnie Mandela. Winnie Mandela didn't ask, who is your mother? I don't know. Which village do you come? Who is your father? No. She took me to Archbishop Tutu, who was in charge of the South African Council of Churches. And they had scholarships there. People from overseas and so on donated. These things can be done. And they looked at children of the disadvantaged communities. Not so and so's child, no. And lastly, I want to say, we had the pandemic. It was said we lost many of our people all over the world, but it also taught us a lot. Today, people are closing offices. They are working from home. Today, universities have options. You can do virtual studies, and that should be cheaper because we are not occupying any space. We are not traveling wherever. You are not in a class full time. So I think we need to find a plan to make sure that we train and develop these young people in the continent. We say Uganda is one of the youngest nations. It's not a curse, it's a blessing. If you go overseas, they are my age, the youngest one is my age. And many of them are going on pension. When they get married, they tell their husband, I'm not going to have a child, I'm a professional, I'm doing my career. Now, who's going to take over that economy? You young Africans here. And we're not going to just run the economy of Uganda or South Africa. You are going to run the economy of the whole world. Whether you go to China, they are old. Whether you go to America, they are old. Italy, they were affected by this virus because they are old. So, Uganda, you are young. Africa, we have the youth. Let us empower them and train them. And find ways of skilling our children and give them opportunities, giving them opportunities so they can take over. Some of us now are going on pension. They must take over, not only in Uganda or in Africa, but they are needed all over the world. Thank you very much.
In which case, a young person like you here, you need to know that learning to be who you are. What is your goal? The second one is learning to know. There is so much information, but you need knowledge first before you have all the information. Picking out. For us, we used to go to the library. Now we are on your computer. The second pillar after knowing is learning to do. The idea is work ethic, which is talking, she has talked about Mandela walking, to and fro, she's going to school and through her conditions. That work ethic, that is the third pillar. And learning to learn is the fourth pillar, continuous learning. That one is known. And the last pillar is learning to live together. These have been put in the convention, the UNESCO convention, as 5 pillars of education, higher education for this century now. So if we have young people who know their destiny, who work towards a goal, and they're ready to look for knowledge, we are going back to the speed we had here. Working hard with integrity, with a vision, then we can create Nelson Mandela.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give you 1 minute because we are working up against the clock, but I want to hear your views and your summation.
Thank you. Privilege to have sat between the scientists and the arts. They all do matter because they make me decide on the lesson. And I must say, the classes we are learning from Professor Oud at the time was 400 shillings a week. Now 400 shillings today doesn't buy a chapati. But what am I saying? We must keep the inroads. And thank you, Your Excellency, for indicating. Mandela kept moving here and there. When I left his classes, there were other routes I took. One thing that he left from his classroom with the inspiration. I said, I must come to Mandela, no matter what he thinks. These professors must teach me. And they taught me. So how do we create those routes and make sure they are out there? While the younger people are moving here and there, it's a question of philosophy and a question of policy. I think we are finding a problem making the right policies because the philosophy is not clear. And at national level and at lower levels, we are promoting sciences. Here is a country which cannot take on intern doctors. Really, with our ratio of doctor-patient ratio? The other day we took on doctors who had worked for COVID, we would not sustain them. So what is our philosophy? Even as we create the Mandelas, can we create systems and policies that will allow these Mandelas, no matter how many years they have spent in the trenches, to come and be their best in building this country? That's going to be a challenge for us. And we must
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry. I wish we had more time because this debate would probably go on the whole afternoon. But unfortunately, sadly, we don't have that time. And I'd like to close our panel discussion by first of all reiterating what Her Excellency talked about, that Nelson Mandela was not only an icon, but he was a true son of Africa, a fearless Pan-Africanist, a nationalist, a visionary, a politician, an activist, and more importantly, he was a forward thinker. We believe that legacies are not built by the men or the women who are the subject of those legacies, but by those around them like ourselves who continue to believe in what they stood for and indeed believe that what had value yesterday continues to serve a greater purpose. I believe that Madiba, Nelson Mandela, Tata, as I think some of you call him, has left us with an important legacy that we must follow. And I understand from Her Excellency it can be done. And I think that us as teachers need to find a way to do that. Thank you very much.
Clan and valiant warrior of the African struggle for independence should be mentioned in the same breath as Makerere, an institution established 4 years after his birth. No wonder his larger-than-life image, forming the backdrop of this stage, smiles down upon us as any loving bigger brother, father, and mentor would. Our keynote address has helped us shed light on some of these larger-than-life attributes. Thank you, Professor Nwagaba, for expertly weaving the golden thread that has knit the legacy of this colossus of a man to our mandate as the premier higher education institution in the region through the lens of the African Union Agenda 2063. As outlined, the higher education sector is not where it used to be in contributing to the growth and transformation of Africa. Be that as it may, we are still a far cry from the sector that Madiba envisaged. And I quote, he said, the power of education extends beyond the development of skills we need for economic success. It can contribute to nation building and reconciliation. End of quote. The discussants have ably exemplified this critical aspect in transformation of our societies. The issue of greed and self-preservation in contrast to the servant leadership model that Madiba very ably exemplified. Coming from one who triumphed over the limitations imposed by the apartheid government's Bantu Education Act of 1952 and gone on to co-establish the first black law firm in South Africa, this quote from Madiba is a timely reminder of the true power of education. And many have already talked about it, including Her Excellency when she shared her experience of coming from a very humble background, widowed mother, and look where she is now. Furthermore, there is no better time than the present to pause and reflect what is the place of nation building and reconciliation in today's relentless pursuit of skills necessary for economic success. Furthermore, do any of today's graduates know their true position in the grand scheme of nation building beyond the well-deserved graduation with honors? As you ponder upon these questions, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes clear that Madiba, the reason why we are gathered here today, had realized that nation building and reconciliation in its purest form could only be achieved when we start to put our talents, academic accolades, and brilliant research to work for the good of our community, nation, and continent. That is what describes servant leadership. In an age where we are faced with mounting commodity prices, thinning job opportunities, and a host of other challenges, the greatest temptation is to stop caring about everyone else and revert to self-preservation. Each man for himself is the idiom that best describes this relapse. Unfortunately, at the point of choosing to preserve self, we lose sight of the merits of pursuing the greater good. If Nelson Mandela had put his own freedom before those suffering under the tight grip of apartheid, we would not be here today. Had Nelson Mandela accepted a pardon in exchange for abandoning his struggle against the injustices of his day, we would not be here today. Had he, upon release from prison, opted for revenge against the apartheid white supremacists instead of racial reconciliation, we definitely would not be here today. Finally, had Nelson Mandela, upon assuming office, not set about dismantling the policies and systems that kept denying his people equitable access to education, we would not be here today. Nelson Mandela's life and legacy are a shining example of servant leadership, of what the refusal to revert to self-preservation in the face of grueling opposition yields: greater public good. Therefore, as we commemorate his 104th birthday at this 5th of the Makerere 100 lecture series, let us refocus our higher education to nurture principles of servant leadership. Let us empower the mind, skill the hand, train and refocus the heart to address community and societal needs. Universities train mainly the heart, the mind. You train, you espouse academic accolades and advancement, but very rarely do we add to it the training of the heart, which therefore should drive the implementation of what you have learned through your studies, what you have attained through your academic achievements.